welcome back. Kind of a different day. Bill Gallagher's in the house with me today. He's the founder of TeamWorks. He's also a pastoral counselor with many, many, many years of experience under his belt. He does have a website, teamworks-works.com, where you can get a hold of him, where he does all kinds of good things with your team and staff. But I've asked Bill to come in today. We just played, Bill, Charlie Kirk's wife's message to the nation. It was amazing.
Yes.
I just shared with them the last interview I had with Charlie Kirk about a year ago. And we are in a state of shock in this country. There's a spirit of numbness over the top of us.
Yeah.
The breakouts over the weekend were all over the board for, I think we had 11 different countries have pro-Christian vigils over the weekend. Thousands, hundreds of thousands of people attending these.
Yeah.
And then we had those who celebrated his death. We're in shock.
Yeah.
We're numb. I still cannot process. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
For the position we are here at theDove, how do you talk about this without upsetting people? People are numb. I think in today's world we just like to go away. But I was thinking in biblical times when somebody died, they mourned for weeks.
Oh, yes, yes.
You know.
Yes.
But we just want to sweep it under the carpet and move on and point fingers.
And that's inappropriate. We'll talk about the grief, the stages of grief for our country here in a few minutes. But it is typical, expected, even God-given when we lose a loved one or we go through grief like this, that we go through shock and we feel numb. Shock says, I cannot wrap my head around what has just happened. And then grief, of course, is just crushing to the spirit and the heart. Bless his wife for her 15 minutes of sharing. I mean, I thought 2 days after, man, that seemed really soon, but she did it and did a fine job. But everybody's in shock. The people that loved him are in shock. And that's the first phase in losing someone. It's almost like a numbness. It's when you go through shock, like if you're injured, you go through shock, your body doesn't feel any pain. So it's kind of a gift from God, actually, when we go through great, tremendous life. It could be divorce, it could be death, it could be many other things that send us into this deep, deep, dark, grievous place. Numbness is a grief that helps us get by for a while. And so the state of shock is a state of more like disbelief. Denial's right after that. Denial's says, denial does what you just said. Some people, they're so overwhelmed, they just, you know what? Still our country, let's move on, let's not talk about it, I just don't want to hear it anymore. That's called denial. So when we go through grief like this, as a country, as an individual, as a family, the Lord wants us to lean in to the phases we go through because it's part of the healing. People, let's talk on a broader level now, people that lose a loved one, and it's so overwhelming, they can't even put it to words, and the feelings are the worst they've ever had. Many people just put it aside and say, I'm just going to go on living like I always did, and they don't go through the stages of God-given grief. God-given grief. And 30 years later, they're angry, and they don't know why. 20 years later, they're depressed, and they don't know why. Because they didn't go through the God-given process of these stages. Shock and numbness being the first one. Okay, so I think what I'm trying to also say to ourselves and to our viewers and listeners, we need to give this a lot of time, even though today's Monday and you got to get back to work. Oh my gosh, it's not even realistic. It's a plastic way of living life.
Yeah. A lot of people feel the sadness and they never knew him.
Yeah, I never knew him. I've seen him on Fox, and I never knew him. But I'm deeply grieved because of what he represented. He was high-end, gospel-centered.
He used Christian apologetics to address cultural issues.
Yes, like Jesus did. That's what Jesus did.
And without anger.
Yeah.
He even got on his fellow followers, so to speak, if I can use that, people who were on his team, when they started to boo somebody that was giving them a bad time, he said, no, let them talk.
Yeah.
Let them talk.
And he talked with controversial people, too.
Yeah.
I've noticed it very controversial, but he seemed to hold it together, and he never got away from the truth.
Are we immune to killing in this country now?
I think we're getting used to it. Sadly enough, we're getting so used to it, and it's just...
What happened to the value of life at any cost?
Well, it's not shocking, especially, you know, what Jesus said, if the world hated me, what's the rest of it?
Yeah, they're going to hate you.
They're going to hate you. So on one hand, it's violating and shocking, and we can't wrap our head around it. On the other hand, Jesus said this would happen. If the world hated me, it will hate you. So, you know, there's just a couple things I want to share too real quick, and then we can get into the cycle. But in 197 A.D., Tertullian, who was the modern day theologian of that day, right when persecution was beginning, okay, it was getting really, really scary. That's when they were hiding in the catacombs. You've been in the catacombs. Yeah. Tertullian said, the blood of the martyrs in this man, based on definition of his faith being his primary concern, he was killed for his faith. Based on that, he's a martyr.
Yes.
Okay. Tertullian said, the blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church. Now, the way God has it, when you plant seeds, things grow bigger and larger. Okay. In Acts chapter 7, the first martyr was Stephen. And he was martyred by the rulers of his day, the high priest. And guess who stood in the crowd holding their cloaks as they stoned him to death? Saul.
Oh.
Soon to be the Apostle Paul. That's also applicable today. We know of the people mocking the death. Apostle Saul did that, and then he eventually came to Christ and was his main voice. He wrote 12 of the books of the Scripture, right? And then he also was martyred.
That's a great point.
The biblical principle in the Scripture, folks that are grieving, and I'm not just throwing passages at you. I understand the pain, but you also need to see the big picture. The big picture, like his wife said, you have no idea, evil people, what you've done. You have unleashed a movement that is far greater than it was. Yeah. Because of what you've done. The seed of the martyr is the seed of the church. You have awakened a monster.
Okay.
By the way, one more thing. I just heard on the news yesterday that some of the followers of Charlie, there was at least within this program, right, 1.2 million. In 48 hours after his death, it's grown to 12 million. That's not stopping.
They've had 18,000 requests for Turning Point chapters to be started.
18,000. So, you know,
I don't know how they qualify that, but apparently the reports say that I think he had numerous chapters, and then of course he has a lot of people who were subscribers and all that. I get that, but they had 18,000 chapters, requests to become chapters across the world, and you kind of go, okay. So to your point, this is blossoming out. So. how do we keep centered here? Because most people who oppose Charlie will say he was a political activist doing things that they don't believe in.
Yeah.
But the basis of everything he did was his faith. In fact, he was asked the question, if you were ever killed, we had that on the air today.
Yeah.
If you were to lose your life, what would you want to be remembered for? He said, I want to be remembered for my faith.
My faith. He said, I want to be remembered for my faith, and I want to have courage always.
Yeah.
I want to encourage people in the truth. I want to be remembered for my faith. So his faith was primary. His faith was pushing his other message.
Right, right, yeah.
So, I mean, this is a movement that, so I get, it's a twofold thing. As people, until we get to heaven, we have to go through the grief process and the motions and weep and question why, Lord. And we have to go through all that. That's part of the process. Mm-hmm. But the bigger picture is the seed of the martyrs is the growth of the church, and the gospel message is going to travel. We got to think kingdom. We got to think about injustice and what happened and go through our tears, but we cannot forget what the Lord's doing as a result of that for the kingdom of God.
All right, so what we have here is the loss of a very prominent person, if I can use that term, obviously a young husband, loving father, incredible person who touched lives all over the world. But in addition to the loss of Charlie is the scar on America.
Ugh.
For those of us who have lived through President Kennedy's assassination, RFK Jr.'s assassination, Martin Luther King, President Ford being shot, President Reagan being shot, President Trump being shot, and then this.
Yeah.
You're sitting here going, something's happened to the soul of America. We're grieving for that level too.
Yes.
It's kind of like pain on top of pain.
And Timothy does say that as time goes on, we'll grow from bad to worse. And that's the nature of this life. Christ is going to come back and call us to him forever. But it's supposed to go from bad to worse, and we're seeing darkness get darker. But of course, as you know, the darker the sky, the brighter the stars.
Yeah, right.
So the Lord is working through it and in our lives.
All right, so we're in this shock and denial stage. I think you also called it shock and awe denial, all wrapped together.
Yep.
And some people are trying to pass it off, whatever. But then comes this stage called anger. And I have to tell you that by Saturday afternoon, actually by Friday night, I was walking in my backyard, and I really had to talk myself. I was pretty angry, and I think what I was angry over was that, I want to say this carefully, but I was like, God, why? Why does a good guy go down like this?
Yeah. Have you ever seen him just as you've been a pastor as well in the past? I mean, have you ever seen the Lord take his finest first?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that say about you and I? We're still around.
Okay, both in our 70s on top of that. Yeah.
No, but the point being is, I thought, well, he's so innocent. Why? And I understand where you're going with this, but is it okay to be angry?
It is okay to be angry. It's preferred that we're angry. Angry at the government, angry at the man that killed him, angry at the I don't want to get political, but angry at messages in our country that are not based on godly truth. Mm-hmm. Anger at our family that maybe doesn't believe the same way we do, politically or spiritually. Mm-hmm. Anger, 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 anger. And all of that is normal, expected. Go through it, lean in it. Don't let it last longer than it should. Don't stay stuck in anger till it becomes bitterness.
Ooh, how do you know when that happens?
Then you're angry at everybody. You never pull yourself out of it. it's like you have just a harsh, frown, bittersweet look on your face, and you just turn to total skepticism. That's when your anger's gone too far.
All right, we're going to run out of time.
Yep.
Then what do you mean by bargaining?
Bargaining mean it's the same as guilt. So if it's before, say you have a loved one that's might die, Lord, I'll do anything. They're like foxhole prayers. I'll do anything, just save the life. But it also is guilt. It's if I could have only been a part of Charlie's movement. If I could have only come to Christ sooner. If I could have, it's all of the regrets and the guilt. The shoulda, wouldas. Yeah. They're the shoulda, wouldas. Yeah. That's bargaining. And then you got depression, despair, and sadness. Okay? Now, we all go through that. Some of us are feeling that right now. Some of us are in the anger stage. Some of us are still kind of shocked. Some of us are feeling a little bad, like, man, I wish I would have been more involved with the movement that he, started. Some of us are still going, I can't believe this is getting away from us. Our world is getting too dark. Lord, where are you in this? And then the final phase is adjustment and acceptance, where we go, you know what? I can start to see now. Give it a year or two. Although we'll never be supportive of how he was taken, I can start to see God's hand at work. This place is exploding with truth and a change in the universities and the gospel message. That's acceptance, and then you move on to a healthier life. Okay. That's the Now, the one thing is, and by the way, I have these available for people if they want to get one, the grief cycle. Could you show that? Yeah, you had it up. Has it been on the screen? Yeah. I haven't seen it.
There it is.
Okay. The one thing that I try to get people to not do is to jump the cycle. You see where the loss is. People, like as I said earlier, it's so horrifically invasive. That they jump, and a lot of Christians feel that a Christian can't be depressed or anger. Like, what Bible are you reading? Yeah. I've never heard of that in my life. That's not even real. But a lot of Christians, because of this discomfort, they jump from loss and they go to acceptance and act like everything's going to work out okay. You're bitter in 30 years and you're still depressed in 20. Start leaning into the grief that God has allowed for our country. Trust the Lord. He's going to take us through it. And He'll weep with you too, by the way. We need to weep with those who weep.
Well, this is helpful, very helpful. And got about a minute. What advice would you give us as a country today?
The advice that I give is what the Apostle Paul wrote not long before he also was martyred. He said, "For me to live is Christ, and to die is gain." When I think of Charlie, that's what the verse that comes to my mind. For me to live is Christ and to die is gain. And then he said this right before his execution in Timothy. "I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Therefore there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day, and not only to me, but also all who have loved his appearing." That includes Charlie, you, me, and any other believer out there. There's hope.
Good stuff. Thank you, brother.
All right, brother.
Let me say to our viewers and listeners, teamworks-works.com is Bill's website. You can go there. He does all kinds of counseling, but primarily also works with organizations and all kinds of issues with staff, good things, and helping you solve maybe some struggles. Check him out. Teamworks-works.com, and he'll come to your organization and help you. Thank you, pal.
Thank you, bud, for having me.
God bless you. All right.